Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends gather together to share music with each other, an album at a time. It's like a little book club for music. Fun time had by all. I'm Petey Rave, and here with me is my team, my squad, my crew, my gang. We've got David.
Buenos tacos, muchachos, and deep down, if you think about it, we're all just rebel cops, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. And we've got Drew.
I'm not a cop.
We're here to talk about music. We're here to talk about an album. We're here to not be cops.
The aesthetics, gentlemen.
We're totally not cops. We're totally not cops.
The vibe.
Put my sunglasses on as I go.
You live in Miami. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. We're totally not cops. We got our sunglasses on. We're just meeting with compatriots and in the mean streets of Miami, and just doing some business together as the music plays. You know, going undercover. I mean, not undercover. Totally not cops. As we go undercover, as we go under this cover of an album, this cover right over here is the video feed. We're here to talk about an album. We're here to talk about a record provided by David. David, what have you brought forth for us?
I have brought an album to the podcast from 2024 by a very popular composer, electronic artist from the UK named Sunglasses Kid. And he specializes in that very cinematic action vaporwave. I don't want to say 80s, but that's what people think it is, sort of vibe. And I don't want to say Miami. I don't want to say Miami because Peter is here. But yeah, it's that kind of vibe to his sound, and we're talking about his album Internal Affairs.
Mm-hmm. I was intrigued by this album. I think by. I wasn't sure exactly what to expect going into this album, but I was intrigued by what it might entail, especially as I started to get the first notes of it and realizing that it's those TikTok videos that I keep getting, the POV. You know, you just gave in your gun and your badge, and we'll spoiler to a little bit later. So I was intrigued to dive into more and get more of that music in me. Drew, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Well, the Sunglasses Kid, the name is something that I've recognized, as I have a love of the wave type of genres, as it were. So I've seen that name come across. But a lot of my consumption of that style of music is very much in the, hey, here's a 24/7, constantly live YouTube playlist of this type of music. So I was intrigued to listen to this album from front to back, especially with the first track being interlude and then there being two other interludes. Like, oh, this might have some little bit of concept story to it. That would be cool. Because I liked it. Reminded me of another person.
I do those.
Yep. And it reminded me of another person in the genre that maybe played at the Olympics last year. And I was like, I liked when they did that for that album. It's probably going to be cool here.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about it. While my headphones get unplugged. But David, how would you describe this album musically?
I was untangling right before we started. I would describe this as very much a cinematic concept experience. It is, to use a phrase I'd heard from Idi Amin, it's theater of the mind. You might have the album artwork, but the music itself is supposed to put you in a very specific headspace. And in that headspace, you are meant to visualize the story and follow along. You can picture what it is, you've got an idea, you can follow that story as the music goes. That's really what Sunglasses Kid is all about. And it has a lot of the really well-produced synths, a little bit of that 80s Phil Collins snare drum sound. You'll hear some occasional saxophone or some really great melodic heavy guitars, but it really stays in that cinematic synth wave space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. Like David had said, like the instinct you want to say is, people want to say is 80s, but this is more early 90s action movies. 1992, like maybe late 80s, early 90s action, possibly softcore porn, just similar vibes and energy, probably be from the same videotape company.
I'd say she had to make it weird.
I'm just saying that there's a lot of crossover with the vibes and the music.
You could have brought up Beverly Hills Cop. No, you brought up softcore pornography.
But
that's a yellow card, Petey.
Yes. But the vibes are there. It's late 80s bleeding into early 90s. And in those like cop movies, aesthetic cop shows, like the music kind of really fits along that. It is like listening to the soundtrack with it really is 100% listening to the soundtrack without the movie happening. It is just listening to the genuine soundtrack. And it fits well. It is mostly musical beds. It is very much a musical bed style sound, synthwave sounds, like synthetics, fun things like that. Really good, cool beats. The musicality from the like the saxophone and the guitar solos come in really well, but they primarily serve as solos. Essentially, they primarily make their presence known in solos more than they do anything else. And everything else is a bed of like really cool synthesizers and beats and like really cool like other similar vibe instruments, and it really establishes a consistent musical aesthetic in that it is very much a soundtrack to a movie that doesn't exist. Like a soundtrack to an 80s action movie that doesn't exist. And further
or maybe it does, PD. Mandela effect.
Or it could, really, honestly. Maybe they just need to get it greenlit. They've been trying to make it, and they just made the soundtrack at a time. But yeah, it is very much. Yeah.
Fury was so good.
Yeah. But yeah, it is the soundtrack to an 80s action movie in all the best ways, and it establishes it well. Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, that like sort of feel, I think, is super, super important. You say a soundtrack to the movie that doesn't exist. I say the unofficial soundtrack to an actual play show that does exist. Because I probably 2 months ago watched through the entirety of Never Stop Blowing Up, a Dimension 20 joint that is Jumanji. If Jumanji was a VHS tape that was an 80s action cop movie. And this to me is like that sort of feel. Less comedy, more serious. But still that sort of milieu of like an over the top sort of.
Ooh, Rekha Shankar's on it. She was on Star Trek Discovery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
She's awesome.
Rekha's on a bunch of Dropout stuff. She's dope.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's part of the family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes I forget where on the gender spectrum all the Dropout people are, because they are all sorts of all over the place on it.
There's a lot of names.
Yes. They're like, I was thinking like, yes. But like, you close your eyes and you see the perpetual either dusk/night with the palm trees and the beach full of like sexy women and muscled hunks, while some like super cool like dude tries to solve some mystery in a cool but slightly unassuming car. It's like it is that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It is. I mean, looking up this artist, apparently they also worked on Cobra Kai and Axel F, both reboots of a kind of 80s things. Hey, yo, can we not?
They have opinions
cool.
too.
Apparently the dogs have a lot of opinions about outrun and retrowave music. But it's a thing where it all fits together so well. It's all smartly produced. It doesn't, like I said in the it reminded me of Kavinsky's album, the big one, Outrun. And that one sounded a lot more robotic sci-fi to me, where this sounds a little bit more organic. From my understanding, there is analog instruments used, not just digital and synth and stuff like that, which I think, or I don't think I know, it adds to that sort of feeling of that, and it feels plucked out of time almost. And yet there's still modern sensibilities to it. It's an album that knows what it's going for, and I think nails it in every single aspect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, also, random note: Rekha Shankar is also doing stuff for like Good Time Society, which is Becca Scott's YouTube channel where she does board games and stuff. Really cool.
And sorry, no, that is not who was on Star Trek Discovery.
That would be cool if Rekha Shankar was in Star Trek Discovery. That'd be really dope. But she is still rad. Let's talk about the tracks, the key tracks. Let's zero in on some songs. Let's zero in on some moments. David, what would be some of the key tracks and key moments to zero in on that make this album what it is?
I will start with Badge and Gun, with the saxophone solo from the absolutely fantastic Johnny Dickens. You've probably seen him scrolling through social media and just sitting down for like a 30-second or 60-second saxophone solo somewhere. It was probably Johnny Dickens, and he absolutely nails his part here. Corporate Affair is funky, but not funky, if you get what I mean. Revenge, loved the guitar intro on that one, and that was Laszlo Buring from the Netherlands. Really, really good guitar solo in there. The interlude really highlighted the Phil Collins drum sound. And the final main track before the outro, Nights in LA, it really did a great job of feeling like bringing the story to a conclusion. It wrapped up the story very well.
Yeah, if we would highlight something like some of those songs, that Badge and Gun, everything David said, I absolutely agree with. We would go with something like, I feel like it starts off really strong, where we, the obviously the opening intro establishes like the whole thing, but getting into Warehouse Shootout, Warehouse Shootout really establishes the vibes right away, with the instrumentation, with the guitars, and with the performance from Eric Hallinan is really fantastic. And then it follows up with Dangerous Romance, where things get saxy, with Max Cruz coming in and providing some amazing sax work, and of course followed up by Badge and Gun. I would also highlight Last Sunset. Uh, has a fun interplay with the guitar solo and the do 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 do. Like, I don't know what that instrument is, but the do 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 do, like, that comes with the guitar solo, and it's really fantastic. Yeah, every track has something going on for it, but I think it really is established right off the bat what the vibe is, and then each song just kind of like builds off of that. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you that you would zero in on?
Well, one, the breaking news into Warehouse Shootout was a brilliant way to spend about 7 minutes. The Warehouse Shootout, specifically that first full track, one, the beginning interlude just kind of tells you like, hey, this might have some like thematic and like ebb and flow like a movie. You might want to be listening. But then Warehouse Shootout, the reverb that's on the guitar, the crazy sense, the like, as Deej said, the Phil Collins ass snare tone that's in this, like that giant just reverb that's on it. It's setting you on a ride, but also that like doo-doo thing that you were cluing in on another thing. I wrote here, the weird synthy pan flute reminds me of Inca People, which is a CDI game that was featured on a Giant Bomb thing. So Petey probably knows what I'm talking about. The dumbest thing ever, but it was great. CDI games, really weird. Badge and Gun. There's a reason this song has 3 million plays. It went viral, and just all of the sax in this, just Diggins on this just went ham, and it's all the better for it. And then the bass line in Love Crimes, I guess you would call it a bass line, like that sort of plucking part in the background. I don't know if it was actual bass or synth on that, and I don't really care. It's just so simple, and it works. And also the reverb they used on the sax here, and like the sustain through those sax parts, really freaking cool. Like, it just really sounded awesome, and like really put like a little fun bit on that for me.
Yeah, let's bring it back around the horn, talk about some conclusive thoughts. And if I were to conclude in any way, I would say my conclusion would be that this is a perfect encapsulation of just a undeniable particular vibe. Like, it fits so well. There's a reason why it hits so well on TikTok, where it's like, POV, you hand, you're sitting at a bar contemplating what, how your case went wrong. It's like in a 90s action movie, and you'd be like, yeah, it really does feel like that. Like, because you feel those movies, those like, and those moments, and how the soundtrack works in that way. And it perfectly like keys into those moments of of a particular era of cheesy fun action movies. And it's all the better for it. It's also very well composed and very well made, so it's like it's a really good one of those, and bringing back something that is extremely fun to listen to. The guest appearances are really great. They add so much to it. The guitar solos do just the right thing. The sax solos equally just do just the right things for what the song needs. The instrumentation, the beats, and the synths, and the acoustic instruments all interplay really well. All the production work interplays really well. And it is the soundtrack to it is a perfect soundtrack, to a movie that you want to watch, and maybe riff on and maybe make fun of, but still enjoy and have fun with.
But secretly still love.
Yeah, exactly. As long as it doesn't have Steven Seagal,
Oh, no.
Yeah, no. Yeah, somebody else. Cynthia Rothrock. It's got to be a Cynthia Rothrock joint.
Show Yun Fat.
Exactly.
Show Yun Fat.
Exactly.
Yes.
Drew, how would you conclude on this album as a whole?
If you enjoy the style and aesthetic that this is, and I say aesthetic meaning aesthetic, not aesthetic meaning aesthetic, all spaced out, that this album is going for. I don't know if I've heard a more perfect version of this in a long time. I've been getting into more of the city funk side of throwback nostalgia vibe music for a while, because city funk by and large has more saxophone, and I like a saxophone in this style of music. This has a lot of saxophone, and I dig that a lot. I think more saxophone needs to be used in a lot of things personally, but I think this album is about as close to perfect as you can get for this style of record.
Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert, my upcoming pick, a couple episodes, is going to have some saxophone. It's a little weird, but it's in there.
You gotta love a little bit of premarital sax.
Petey, I love it when you get weird.
Exactly. But yeah. Last but not least, David, how would you conclude on this album as a whole?
I absolutely love this. I am such a sucker for this style of production. I love this style so much. This particular subgenre of music, I could live in that world and just absolutely love watching every episode of this show. I would absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
The guest musicians were all really on point. And by the end of the album, it felt like it concluded right when it needed to. And in my opinion, it's about as good of an album of this style as you can ask for. It's pretty much perfect.
Exactly. All right. Let's get to the main event of the evening, the moment we've all been waiting for. Haiku Reviews, where we sum it all up in poetic forms. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Haikumero numero uno. Drew, what is your haiku?
A fog-filled city with just a tinge of orange, driving a cool car.
Mm-hmm. My haiku. Your badge and your gun on my desk right now, damn it. You're too reckless, kid. And David, what is your haiku?
Very well done, sir. Electrinema. Music overcomes gimmick. Immaculate vibes.
Mm-hmm. Also, you'll be proud of me. I didn't use cinema in my haiku. I could have used.
Yeah, I sort of did.
And the meme. Those are our thoughts on Sunglasses Kids' internal affairs. You can, of course, find it on our Spotify playlist and our YouTube playlists. Play Record Breakers, the home game. Record Breakers, the home game. Do your due diligence and your due diligence. Play along at home. Follow along with all the episodes and albums on those playlists. Will be next week's record, and that's going to be provided by Drew. Drew, what have you got for us?
Oh, it should be on there. Because the next album, I was waffling between what to pick, and I wasn't 100% sure. And my lovely fiance back there, who is currently blurred, as she pops up and waves, through the
Hello,
blur.
blob. Hello, blob.
They say hello to the blurred blob.
That I'm unable to decipher.
But she suggested, hey, I've been listening to this album, and the entire album is good and fun. You should bring it on. So that is what I will do. This lady is, her hometown is listed as Tampa. Mm-hmm. She has spent time in both New York and in LA. She recently won a Grammy after finally hitting success. Been doing the music thing since 2016. Her name is Doechii.
Yes.
That'd be Doechii with two eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And her third mixtape, Alligator Bites Never Heal, is going to be the album.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be intriguing.
Turn off the comments. Turn off the comments.
Yeah. We're going to. I'm intrigued. I'm because I've been hearing a lot of course, this name. So we're looking forward to actually diving in. Getting our feet wet in this space, as it were. But yeah. Those are our thoughts on this album. That's our album next week. I'm getting distracted by the dog. It's hilarious. Oh, the dog's just going nuts. That'll be next week, and this is this week. And you can, of course, find us all over the internet. Rebelli.net for this and other shows. Rebelli TV on YouTube and on Twitch. You can check out all the VODs and episodes on YouTube. Subscribe there. Follow us on Twitch to catch us live for this and all of our other streams, including Through the Tomes, our Real Play RPG show, our GM mode streams, the occasional tank. That's a neat card where I open cards. Example, recently I did a whole opening of Pokemon cards. I got a bunch of packs and boxes. Including random crap from Walgreens that I probably overpaid for. That was repackaged, but it was fun to open them. Yeah, and also baseball cards and all that other stuff, and also video game streams that I've been trying to get back into and doing more often. So check that out all there. Check us out everywhere else. Find me on Blue Sky at pdrave.com. Find us all on our respective Blue Skies. I think Blue Skis. I'll probably put that up for everyone as soon as I can. Yeah, like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo.
Annyeong. Skeet, skeet, skeet.
Live long and prosper, bitches.
Fighting.
Crying nut.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.